Years on the force taught me how to spot a lie. Criminals, witnesses, even fellow officers, people lie all the time. But I never thought I'd have to question my own wife. The night I found that bracelet, everything changed. It was expensive. Too expensive. And I sure as hell didn't buy it for her. As I lay next to Lauren that night, listening to her steady breathing, my mind wouldn't stop racing. Was I being paranoid? Or was this the first crack in the life I thought I knew? Mornings in our house followed the same routine. I was up first, drinking coffee and scrolling through the news. Lauren, wrapped in a blanket, shuffled into the kitchen, kissed my cheek, and mumbled something about dreading work. "Then don't go," I joked. She smirked. "And let you cover all the bills?" Lauren was a financial analyst at a private firm in Los Angeles. She'd been there for years, building a career she rarely talked about. The stress, the late nights, I assumed it was all part of the job. After breakfast, she took the car. I took the subway. Work was work. I was a cop, not a detective, just a patrol officer dealing with drunks, petty thieves, and endless paperwork. Nothing glamorous, but it was steady. My captain, Mark Reynolds, had always been a solid guy, strict but fair. Lately, though, something was different. He was taking private calls, locking his office door, and getting snappy over small things. "You think he's in trouble?" Sarah, my partner, asked as we grabbed coffee from the vending machine. She was sharp, always watching. "I think he's got a lot on his plate," I said. Sarah arched an eyebrow. "Come on, Jake. He's hiding something." I didn't disagree. But calling out your boss wasn't a smart move. By the time I got home, it was after 7. Lauren was curled up on the couch with a glass of wine, looking more relaxed than usual. "Good day?" I asked, tossing my keys onto the counter. "I got a bonus," she said, smiling. "For what?" She hesitated. Barely a second. "Performance-based," she said quickly. I nodded. "Nice. Want to celebrate?" She lifted her glass. "Already ahead of you." Dinner was normal. We talked about work, weekend plans, and how I should take some time off. Everything felt fine. Until later that night. I was getting ready for bed when I saw it. A bracelet. Silver. Elegant. Expensive. It sat on her nightstand, catching the dim light. I picked it up. "I don't remember seeing this before," I said. Lauren, already in bed, glanced up. Something flickered in her eyes. Surprise? Guilt? Then she smiled. "Oh, that? A gift from a friend." "A friend?" "Yeah. Madison. You don't know her." I nodded slowly, setting it back down. It was probably nothing. Probably. But as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. That was the first crack in the picture-perfect life I thought I had. And I had no idea how deep it would go. The bracelet wasn't the problem. Not really. It was just an object, a piece of silver and stone. But it was also a question I didn't have an answer to, a loose thread I couldn't stop pulling. And the more I pulled, the more I felt something unraveling. I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was overreacting. Lauren wouldn't lie to me. She never had before. But that tiny hesitation when I asked her about it, it stuck with me. Work was supposed to be a distraction, but it wasn't. Mark Reynolds called me into his office first thing in the morning. No greeting, no small talk, just a file slid across the desk. "I need you on this," he said. I flipped through it. Stolen property, high-value smuggling, jewelry moving through LA's underground market. "Why me?" I asked. "Because I trust you," he said, locking eyes with me. I kept reading, scanning photos of watches, necklaces, earrings, and then I saw it. A silver bracelet. Elegant. Expensive. Identical to Lauren's. My pulse slowed. Coincidence. It had to be. There were thousands of bracelets like that, right? But something about it gnawed at me. Sarah noticed I was off. "You all right?" she asked. "Yeah, just tired." She gave me a look. "Try that again." I forced a smile. "It's nothing." She didn't push, but I could tell she didn't believe me. That night, I tried to act normal. Lauren was in a good mood, curled up on the couch with a glass of wine. "Long day?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, sitting next to her. "Yours?" "Busy. Same old." She smiled at me, and for a second, I wanted to believe that nothing had changed. That I wasn't lying awake at night questioning things I had never questioned before. That I wasn't thinking about that damn bracelet. We went to bed around 11. Lauren fell asleep quickly. I didn't. My mind was spinning. The bracelet. the hesitation, the file on my desk. All just coincidences, right? Right? Then, past midnight, I heard it. A soft rustling. Lauren shifting beside me. Then, her voice barely above a whisper. No, it's fine. He doesn't suspect anything. I froze. A pause. Then another whisper. I told you I can handle it. Just don't call me so late. Silence. The soft click of her setting the phone down. I kept my breathing steady, waiting. Minutes passed. Then she shifted again, pulling the blanket up and settling back into sleep. Like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just cracked my world open. I wanted to sit up. I wanted to demand answers. But I didn't. Instead, I just lay there, staring into the dark, pretending I was still the same man I was yesterday. The same man who thought he knew his wife. But now I wasn't so sure. I tried to push it aside, tell myself I misheard, that it was nothing. But once you hear your wife whispering into the phone at midnight, telling someone he doesn't suspect anything, you don't just forget that. It burrows into your brain, poisoning everything. Every word, every look, every little thing that once felt normal now felt like a clue I'd missed. And when doubt sets in, you start seeing things you never noticed before. Like how Lauren had been glued to her phone lately, tilting the screen away when I walked by. How she'd started running errands more often, but never mentioned where. How she seemed lighter, like she wasn't carrying the same weight I was. Meanwhile, I felt like I had bricks in my chest. At work, Reynolds put me on an interrogation. Some guy we picked up last night, small time, caught moving stolen jewelry. Not the kind of guy who runs things, just the kind who knows people. You're wasting your time, he said, grinning like this was all a joke to him. You think you're going to get anywhere with this? Please. You guys don't even know who you're dealing with. I didn't react. Just stared. Enlighten me. He chuckled. Let's just say, some things are closer to home than you think. My skin went cold. For a split second, I felt something crack inside me. He didn't know, couldn't know. It was just a lucky guess, a mind game. But I leaned in anyway. Say that again. He smirked. Forget it. Doesn't matter. And just like that, he shut up, lawyered up. The conversation was over. But his words stuck with me. Some things are closer to home than you think. I left work early. I didn't text Lauren. I wanted to see what she was doing when she wasn't expecting me. But when I walked into the house, I knew something was off. It was too quiet. No TV. No sound from the kitchen. Lauren wasn't home. Her car was still in the driveway, which meant she either walked somewhere or got picked up. I checked my phone and called her. No answer. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. My heart started pounding. I don't know why, but I opened our location sharing app. We had it set up years ago, mostly for emergencies. I never had a reason to check it before. Now I did. I expected to see her somewhere normal. At work, at the store, at a friend's place. She wasn't. She was in an industrial area outside of LA. A place full of warehouses. The kind of place people went when they didn't want to be seen. A place we'd flagged in an ongoing case last month for possible smuggling activity. I stared at the screen, barely breathing. I called her again. This time, the call rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Then, the call disconnected. Not declined. Cut off. That was the moment it clicked. She wasn't just hiding something. She was hiding from me. And I needed to know why. I wasn't going to sit at home and pretend everything was fine. Not after this. Not after she cut my call, knowing I was trying to reach her. I grabbed my keys and got in the car, trying to stay calm, trying to think, but my thoughts were a mess. Every possibility ran through my head, every explanation, every worst-case scenario. Maybe there was a good reason she was there. Maybe it was all a misunderstanding. But if that was true, why the hell did it feel like my stomach was in a vice? As I drove, the streets got darker, quieter. The nice parts of LA were far behind me now. The buildings here weren't offices or stores. They were abandoned factories, warehouses with no names, places people went when they didn't want to be seen. The kind of place my wife had no business being. I parked a block away, killing my lights. Sat there, gripping the steering wheel, trying to steady my breathing. Ahead, the warehouse loomed, half lit by flickering streetlights. And I wasn't alone. A row of luxury cars lined the street. Black Escalades, a matte gray Porsche, a Range Rover with dark-tinted windows. High-end, expensive. These weren't random cars. These were the kind of people who didn't want their names in police reports. I scanned the area, watching. There was a guy standing near the entrance. Not a security guard, not officially, but definitely there for a reason. He had that posture, that stance, someone who knew how to handle himself. Someone who wasn't just there to open doors. Then the warehouse door opened, and my world cracked open. Lauren stepped out, not alone. Mark Reynolds was with her. My boss. For a second, my brain refused to process what I was seeing. They were talking. No tension, no fear. Just casual, familiar. Like they'd done this before. Then he leaned in, said something, and placed his hand on her lower back, leading her toward one of the cars. She didn't pull away. I felt my grip tighten on the wheel. My jaw locked so hard it hurt. This was it. This was real. No more guessing. No more wondering. She was lying to me. And she wasn't alone in it. I didn't even realize I was shaking until I forced myself to take a breath. My pulse was hammering in my ears. I needed to get out of here. I needed to figure out what the hell was going on before I did something stupid. I reached for my phone, planning to take a picture, something to prove to myself that this was actually happening. But just as I lifted it, a knock on my window. I jumped, my hand moving toward my holster before I even turned my head. A man stood there, watching me. Black jacket, hands in his pockets, but everything about his posture told me he wasn't some random guy. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't cautious. He was amused. "You're not here by accident, are you?" His voice was calm, almost friendly. My mouth was dry. My heartbeat slammed against my ribs. I had a gun, a badge, training, but none of that mattered. I'd been caught, and I had no idea what happened next. I didn't move, didn't speak, just kept my breathing steady and watched the man through the glass. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't trying to intimidate me. He just stood there like he already knew exactly how this was going to play out. I could have driven off, slammed my foot on the gas and gotten the hell out of there. But I didn't, because I knew, deep down, that if I tried to run, I wouldn't make it far. There were too many eyes on me, too many expensive cars with engines still warm. If they wanted to stop me, they could. The man tilted his head, then nodded toward the warehouse. "Since you're already here, why don't you come inside?" Not a suggestion. My pulse hammered in my ears, but I forced my face to stay neutral. They didn't know who I was. Not yet. If they did, I wouldn't still be sitting here. I took a slow breath, then reached for the door handle. My fingers brushed against my holster as I stepped out, a small reminder, to myself, to him, that I wasn't unarmed. He noticed, smirked. "No need for that, friend. We're all civil here." Sure. That's why I felt like I was walking into a lion's den. He gestured toward the warehouse entrance and walked ahead. I followed. Inside, the air was thick with cigarette smoke and the sharp scent of cologne. Dim lights flickered overhead, casting jagged shadows on the concrete floor. The space wasn't empty. Several tables were set up in the middle, each surrounded by men in dark suits. Low voices, calm conversations. But the tension in the room was impossible to ignore. This wasn't just some gang hideout. This was business. And then I saw her. Lauren. She was standing by one of the tables, speaking quietly to someone. Not just anyone. Mark Reynolds. My boss. Every muscle in my body locked up. She wasn't restrained. She wasn't panicked. She wasn't looking around like she wanted to escape. She was comfortable. Reynolds handed a briefcase to a man across from him. The guy cracked it open, nodded, then slid something back in return. Even from here, I knew what I was looking at. A deal. A dirty one. My stomach turned to stone. My pulse was a dull roar in my head. I needed to get the hell out of here. I took a slow step back. Then I felt it. A shift in the air. A presence. Someone was watching me. "Hey." A voice from across the room. I turned my head. A man near the far wall was staring at me, brows furrowed, something flickering in his eyes. Recognition. "I know you." Shit. My body tensed. A few other heads turned. Someone whispered something. I could feel the energy in the room shift, like a coil tightening, ready to snap. The guy took a step toward me. "Yeah, I've seen you before." I kept my face blank, my posture loose. "Doubt it." His expression darkened. And just like that, I knew I wasn't getting out of here without a fight. The seconds stretched too long. The guy who had recognized me wasn't backing down. His eyes narrowed as he took another step closer, staring at my face like he was piecing together a half-forgotten memory. Around us, voices quieted. A shift in the air, subtle but unmistakable. People were watching now. I had seconds to turn this around. I frowned slightly, tilting my head. You sure about that? I think you got the wrong guy. He hesitated. His lips pressed together, his eyes scanning my face again, doubt creeping in. He wasn't convinced, but he wasn't completely sure either. If I gave him enough room to second-guess himself, I might get out of this. Then, a voice from across the room. What's going on? I turned my head. Mark Reynolds. He stood near the back, his expression unreadable. Every set of eyes in the room turned toward him, and just like that, the tension shifted. Then his gaze landed on me. Something flickered across his face. Recognition? Suspicion? He didn't react immediately, but I saw the way his jaw tightened. He knew something was off. The silence stretched. Then, before Reynolds or anyone else could speak, Lauren stepped forward. He's with me. Her voice was smooth. Too smooth. The guy in front of me hesitated, glancing at her, then back at me. The others in the room watched, waiting. Reynolds didn't react at first. His eyes flicked between us, studying the situation, deciding if he was buying what she was selling. You vouch for him? His tone was low, even, but I could hear the weight behind the question. Lauren didn't hesitate. I do. I kept my face neutral, but my pulse was pounding. What the hell was she doing? Reynolds let the silence stretch just long enough to make it uncomfortable. Then finally, he exhaled. All right. He looked at the guy still eyeing me. Back off. The man hesitated like he wanted to argue, but after a second, he stepped away. I forced myself to stay loose, to look calm, even as every instinct screamed at me to get the hell out of there. But I wasn't getting out. Reynolds turned back to Lauren. Then he stays. And then, finally, he looked at me. Really looked at me. Sizing me up. Calculating. Deciding if I was a threat. A slow smirk pulled at the corner of his mouth. If he's with you, then I guess he's one of us. Right? It wasn't a question. It was a test. Lauren didn't flinch. Of course. Reynolds let the moment stretch, then gave a slow nod. Good. He turned and walked back toward the center of the room. The tension didn't fully disappear, but people started shifting their attention away, going back to their conversations. Except for the guy who had recognized me. He didn't move. He just watched. Then finally he turned away. I exhaled slowly, but the pressure in my chest didn't ease. Lauren stepped closer, her voice low. You need to leave? I met her eyes. You just made sure that's not happening. Her expression stayed cold. I just bought you time. That's all. I wasn't sure if I believed her. I wasn't sure if I had a choice. All I knew was that I was deeper than ever. And I had no idea how the hell I was supposed to get out. I was in, whether I wanted to be or not. People around me slowly went back to their business, but their eyes lingered just a little too long. They were still sizing me up, deciding if I belonged here, or if I was a problem that needed to be handled. Lauren grabbed my wrist, her fingers digging into my skin. Don't say anything, she whispered, her breath sharp and fast. Just follow me. I didn't argue. I let her pull me deeper into the warehouse, past crates and dimly lit corridors. Every step felt deliberate, like she was trying to keep us out of sight. Lauren, what the hell is this? I muttered, but she ignored me. She led me to a small room off to the side and shoved the door open, yanking me inside before slamming it shut. It was cluttered with paperwork, crates, and a single flickering bulb overhead. No windows. Just us. As soon as the door closed, I ripped my arm from her grip. Start talking. Right now. She didn't meet my eyes. Her jaw clenched, hands unsteady as she ran them through her hair. Lauren, I snapped. I swear to God if you don't. I never wanted you involved in this. She cut in, voice shaking. I blinked. That was not the answer I was expecting. Involved in what? I demanded. What exactly am I involved in? What the hell are you doing with Reynolds? At his name, her whole body tensed. She looked away, and suddenly it clicked. The late nights, the phone calls, the secrets. You're sleeping with him. My voice was like ice. You're with Reynolds. She didn't deny it. A cold, hollow feeling spread through my chest. I had been right. Every instinct, every doubt, every sickening thought I had been trying to push away, it was all true. But then she looked up, and I saw something I hadn't expected. Desperation. "It's not what you think," she said, shaking her head. It wasn't about that. I was trying to protect you." I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "Protect me? By screwing my boss?" "You don't understand," she shot back, stepping toward me. "He's not just your boss, Jake. He's dangerous. More than you realize. He's been setting you up, pulling you in, making sure that if things go south, you take the fall." The words slammed into me. I shook my head. "That's bullshit." "It's not," she insisted. "I got close to him because I had to, because I thought I could stop it before he dragged you in too deep." I stared at her, my breath coming fast. My mind was trying to reject it, trying to hold on to the anger, the betrayal. But the way she was looking at me, like she was begging me to understand, made me hesitate. Before I could say another word, the door creaked open behind us. We both froze. A man I didn't recognize stood in the doorway. Older, scar across his cheek, his presence filling the room before he even spoke. "You two having a little chat?" His voice was casual, but there was something cold underneath it. "Reynolds wants to know if everything's all right." Lauren straightened instantly, slipping into a mask of calm. "Yeah," she said smoothly, just showing him around. "You know how it is." The man's eyes shifted to me, lingering too long. "You sure he's with you?" The question was slow, calculated. Lauren didn't hesitate. "He's with me." The man held her gaze for another second, then gave a slow nod. "All right. Just make sure he stays that way." The door closed, and I heard the lock click into place. I turned back to her. "What the hell have you gotten us into?" Her shoulders dropped, exhaustion flickering across her face. "I was trying to keep you out of it, Jake." "Well, you failed," I said, voice rough. "So what now?" She didn't answer, because the truth was, we were both too deep, and I had no idea if we were ever getting out. The sound of the lock clicking behind us felt final. I turned back to Lauren, my pulse still hammering. My mind was racing, trying to process what she had just said, but none of it made sense. She had slept with Reynolds, but not because she wanted to. She had done it to protect me. And now we were both trapped. I swallowed, my voice hoarse. "No more lies. No more excuses. You tell me everything. Right now." Lauren let out a shaky breath, like she had been dreading this moment. "It started months ago," she whispered. "Reynolds has been watching you for a long time. You think he promoted you because of your skills? Because you're a good cop?" She let out a hollow laugh. "No, he was setting you up from the start." My jaw clenched. "Setting me up for what?" She hesitated. "To take the fall." I stared at her. "What the hell does that mean?" Lauren looked at the door, then back at me, her voice lower now. "Reynolds runs this entire operation. The money, the smuggling, the payoffs, he's behind all of it. And if it ever goes south, if the feds or internal affairs get too close, guess who takes the blame?" My stomach twisted. "You?" The word hit me like a punch to the gut. I shook my head. "That doesn't make any sense." "Why me?" "Because you're clean," she said, her voice bitter. "You've never taken a bribe. You have no record. If they need a scapegoat, you're perfect." I felt like the floor was tilting beneath me. "That's insane," I muttered. "And your way of fixing this was to sleep with him?" Lauren flinched, but she didn't look away. "I didn't have a choice." "There's always a choice," I snapped. "Not this time." Silence. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. "You should have told me," I finally muttered. "And then what?" she shot back. "You would have gone to internal affairs?" "Jake, you don't understand. You can't fight him. You can't win. He owns the department. He owns everyone." I gritted my teeth. "He doesn't own me?" She gave me a sad smile. "That's what I thought too." Before I could respond, footsteps echoed outside. Lauren's eyes widened. The handle turned, and the door swung open. A man stepped inside. Not the one from before. Someone new. Older. Sharper. The kind of guy who didn't waste time. "Dawson wants him," he said. Lauren's grip tightened on my wrist. "Don't fight it," she whispered. "Whatever happens, just agree." I didn't get the chance to ask her what she meant. The man gestured toward the door. "Let's go." I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to move. They led me down a dim hallway, past crates and low-murmured conversations. My instinct screamed at me to fight, to run, but Lauren's warning played over and over in my head. Then we stepped into a large, open room. Reynolds was waiting. He was leaning against a table, sleeves rolled up, looking completely at ease. And he was smiling. "Jake," he said smoothly. "Let's talk." Reynolds' smile was calm. Too calm. He leaned back in his chair, watching me like he already knew exactly what I was going to do. Like my choices were nothing more than a formality. The room was silent, except for the occasional shuffle of movement from the men standing behind me. "Have a seat, Jake," Reynolds said, gesturing toward the chair across from him. I didn't move. His smile didn't falter. That wasn't a suggestion. I felt someone step closer behind me. A presence. Heavy. Armed. I sat. Reynolds sighed, shaking his head. "You've made quite the impression tonight." I clenched my jaw. "Glad to hear it." He let out a short laugh. "You're smart. That's why this is going to be easy." He leaned forward, folding his hands together. "You have two choices. First option, you start working for me. Not much at first. Just small things. Keeping your eyes open. Making sure things go smoothly. And in return," he smiled, "you stay breathing." I swallowed. "And the second option?" His smile didn't fade. "You disappear." The words hit like a gunshot. "I get it," he continued, voice casual. "You're one of the good ones. A straight shooter. A real cop." He smirked. "But let's be honest. What has that ever done for you? The system's been rigged since before you even put on the badge. You think you can fight it? Take me down." He chuckled. "Go ahead. Try. Let's see how long you last." I knew he wasn't bluffing. If I pushed back, it wouldn't just be against him. It would be against everyone who was part of this. And I had no idea how deep that went. Lauren had been silent this whole time, sitting next to me, her body stiff. But now she spoke. "Jake isn't a problem." Reynolds' gaze flicked to her. "He's useful," she continued. "He understands the situation. He'll do what needs to be done." My jaw tightened. What the hell was she doing? Reynolds studied her, then exhaled slowly, amused. "She's vouching for you," he said, looking back at me. "That's cute." Lauren held his gaze. Reynolds nodded slightly. One of his men stepped forward and placed a small envelope on the table. "Your first job," Reynolds said smoothly. I didn't move. "Take it," he said. "Consider it a favor. Just something simple. A little test." My fingers curled around the envelope. It was heavier than I expected. Cash. Instructions? I looked back up at him. Reynolds grinned. "Welcome to the real world, Jake." The envelope felt heavier than it should have. I held it in my hands, keeping my face blank. Across the table, Reynolds watched me, waiting for me to accept what I had just become. Lauren sat rigid beside me. She hadn't spoken since she vouched for me, but I could feel the tension radiating from her. I had two choices. Play along, buy time, or refuse and die right here. I exhaled slowly and slipped the envelope into my jacket pocket. "All right," Reynolds smirked. "Smart man." He stood, adjusting his sleeves like we had just sealed a business deal. "Your first job is simple. A delivery. No risks, no trouble. Just proving you can follow orders." I nodded. "When and where?" "Tomorrow night. You'll get the details later." He glanced at Lauren. "You should thank your wife. She just saved your life." Lauren stayed silent. Reynolds chuckled. "That's devotion, huh?" Then he motioned to his men. "Take them home." At the apartment, the envelope sat untouched on the table. I paced while Lauren sat on the couch, arms crossed. "You didn't have to do that," I muttered. She sighed. "I didn't do it for you. I did it to buy us time." I turned to her. "Time for what?" She hesitated. Then finally, "To end this." My stomach clenched. "You have a plan?" Lauren nodded. "You're not going to like it." "Tell me." She met my eyes. "You're going to do the job?" I clenched my jaw. "No, you have to." She stood, stepping closer. "If you refuse, they'll kill you. Kill both of us." "And then what?" I snapped. "I do this one job, and suddenly I'm one of them." "No," she said firmly. "You do the job, and while you're inside, we gather everything. Records, transactions, connections, and then we take them down." I let out a slow breath. "You think we can actually bring down Reynolds?" Lauren's expression was hard. We don't have a choice. I shook my head. It was suicide. But she was right. If we didn't stop him, no one would. The next night, I arrived at the drop location, an abandoned lot at the edge of the city. A black SUV waited. Lauren was back at the apartment, tracking things from a burner phone. She had given me an earpiece, whispering instructions. "Stay calm," she said. "Do exactly what they expect." I walked up to the car, handed over the envelope. "Easy." Then, gunfire. Tires screeched. A second SUV sped into the lot, doors flying open. Men poured out, guns raised. I dove behind a crate as bullets tore through the air. "Jake? Jake!" Lauren's voice crackled through the earpiece. Reynolds' men fired back, shouting. Someone grabbed me, shoving me down. "Stay down." The second SUV's doors opened again, and stepping out was my captain. My stomach dropped. Lauren's voice came through the earpiece, frantic. "Jake, listen to me. That's not backup. They're tying up loose ends. You're the loose end." My captain pulled out his gun, looked directly at me, and I finally understood. Reynolds hadn't just owned dirty cops. He had owned everyone, and now they were cleaning house. I looked down at the gun in my hand. I had a choice. Run, fight, or do something much, much worse. The next 5 seconds felt like an eternity. I raised my gun. One shot. My captain collapsed. Reynolds' men froze. But they didn't shoot me. Not yet. Because I hadn't just killed an officer. I had taken out a bigger threat. Reynolds stepped forward, staring at me. That was bold. I didn't lower my gun. That was necessary. A long silence. Then, Reynolds smiled. "Welcome to the real game, Jake." A sinking feeling twisted in my chest. I had just crossed a line I could never come back from. Lauren's voice came through the earpiece, barely above a whisper. "Jake, what have you done?" I didn't have an answer.